Hello, and welcome to this CUBE conversation. I'm Bob LaLiberte, Principal Analyst for the CUBE Research, and today I'm joined by Anurag Dhingra, the SVP and GM Enterprise Connectivity and Collaboration. Welcome.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been an unbelievable week. It's just been, the hits just keep coming. The number of innovations coming out at Cisco Live this week, I think we counted somewhere north of 25 separate technology announcements coming out.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of them directed around the AI era. So I'd like to drill down into that a little bit if we could, and start talking about what challenges that you currently see for these enterprises who are trying to adapt to this AI era.
Right. So as you said, this has been a busy couple of days for us. Lots of innovation that we launched here. Now, it's obvious to everyone that we are in the middle of a huge technology transformation here, right? And AI is driving that for lots and lots of industries. But when we look back at previous technology transitions like this, internet, mobile devices, cloud computing, we always had to kind of take a step back and redesign our networks to accommodate for those transitions. And this is no different. This is, in fact, in some ways, much, much bigger. You are going to start to see digital workers show up in the workplace. When you think about the workforce today, us humans, of course, we use machines to get our work done, but more and more software agents are starting to enter the workforce. Humanoids, robots, this is happening in the factory floors today,
Correct.
But this is a sign of things to come. So when you think about this, you have to ask, is my infrastructure ready for this?
Correct.
These agents, these humanoids, these robots, they're going to start to do human-like work, but at machine speed and scales. What does that do to my traffic volumes? What does that do to my security exposure? How to secure agents versus humans? I need a new network architecture. And that was the framing that we had when we started building these products. And a lot of the announcements we made this week come from that place.
All time. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, that you would have to re-architect based on everything that's going on, right? All this, especially around security aspects and so forth, and the amount of traffic that's going to increase across these networks.
Right.
Well, by the way, you're keeping all your mission critical applications running, right, as well. So I want to touch on another area, that a term that I heard this week. So there's been a lot of buzz in the industry over the last couple of years around AI ops. There's been a lot of buzz more recently around agentic AI.
Yes.
But one of the terms that Cisco rolled out this week was AgenticOps.
Right.
So I'm wondering if you could explain a little bit more about what AgenticOps is and the value that will bring to enterprise.
Right. So from our point of view, AgenticOps is the next step in a very natural evolution. AI assistants started as helpers for humans. You can ask some questions, maybe get some data out of that. Then AI ops is where you're starting to leverage that as part of your NetOps, SecOps workflow. Agentic ops is where you take the next step and use software agents to autonomously do some jobs as part of your workflow. But then this is a collaboration between software agents and humans. So we always want human in the loop. Yeah. Agentic ops is more around this autonomous system that we're building with humans always in control. So that's agentic ops for us.
Got it. That makes sense. And it's great to hear that humans are in control, especially when I think about the Cisco customer base, right? And the deep knowledge and expertise that they have to be able to work alongside that digital workforce and help augment their capabilities so they can focus their time more on doing strategic activities and less time on fighting fires.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that sounds great. Now, some of the research that we've done has shown organizations coming back and saying, hey, our network is a lot more complex than it was a couple of years ago, right? It's clearly more distributed and so forth. One of the things that they've complained about and put on their list of why it's driving that complexity is multiple different management tools.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give you an opportunity to address that, because we saw this week, another one of the announcements was the unified management platform to help consolidate and help drive operational efficiencies across that, campus, branch, cloud environments. Could you touch upon that a bit?
Absolutely. So over the last couple of years, we made a lot of progress in terms of just consolidating the management products that we've had at Cisco, right? So specifically for campus and branch, what we announced here is that we've brought together our Catalyst product line, Raki product line. And that's not just a management plane convergence. In fact, all of the new products that we announced here, they are Cisco products. It's one hardware, and then you can manage them with on-premise controllers, or you can manage them from the cloud. So that's the unification I'm talking about for campus and branch. We've also made progress in the data center space, where Nexus Dashboard can now manage NXOS devices, ACI devices, and we've consolidated our security products under security cloud control. So across these three domains, we've done a lot of consolidation in data center, campus and branch, and security. And what we're going to do next is to bring all of them together under a single umbrella called Cisco Cloud Control, with AgenticOps, our new product announcement around that is AI Canvas. That is going to be a front end of all of that. And so that's sort of the next step for us to go across domain in this journey.
Excellent. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I've always been a big proponent of something I refer to as the principle of least astonishment.
Right.
So regardless of where you're working, if you're working on that Cisco tool, that Cisco platform,
Right.
it's going to feel familiar to you. You're going to be able to leverage it. And certainly like AI Canvas across all those domains
Exactly.
would help with that. Okay. So that's great talking about software, but of course we all know that there's actually this stuff called infrastructure that actually drives everything that we're doing. I'm wondering if you talk about the next gen devices, because there were a number of announcements that came out, and why these are uniquely suited for the new AI era. If you will.
Yeah, so these devices were designed to be ready not just for the needs of today's infrastructure, but the use cases that AI will unlock tomorrow. And so it is really important to design these systems to be flexible, to be scalable, to be power efficient. And that's what goes behind the engineering processes here. So we announced 2 smart switches for the campus. We're calling them smart switches because they have a similar architecture to the smart switches we announced for the data centers. And the architecture there's a network processor. This is our own Silicon One, our networking ASIC. And then there's a co-processor that can run security workloads like Hypershield, which is our solution for a hybrid mesh firewall. So you can have that capability in the campus switches as well. So we've introduced a fixed access switch and a core modular switch for campus networks, both built around Silicon One architecture. We've also announced a refreshed line of secure routers for various capacities, a full range of them. And these routers have next generation firewall capabilities built into them. They also have sophisticated SD-WAN built into them. So it's like amazing routing capabilities and amazing security capabilities in a single package. And then we announced a new access point for large spaces and stadiums. And this is really just extending our portfolio of Wi-Fi 7 access points. We've been shipping them for some time. This is yet another offer. This is, in fact, the industry's first large-scale Wi-Fi 7 access point. We're very excited about that. All of our Wi-Fi access points are now also going to have a companion campus gateway. You can seamlessly roam around your campus, and you have a cloud-native managed campus gateway with the same sophistication of an on-premise wireless controller. So that's sort of the unique part of this. And then we have a number of industrial Ethernet switching products that we announced. And there, it's really important that we have multiple form factors for different needs of the industrial spaces. There's a whole line of 19 Ethernet switching products there. A lot of hardware devices, but they're all built to be really power efficient, built for high capacity and the scalability.
Yeah, so sounds like you really haven't been too busy lately, right? Lots of software and the hardware combined to accommodate it. And I definitely like the concept of the smart switches and so forth, right? Putting in that technology so it's not really detracting from any of the performance of the switch, but adding that security. That leads me to my next question, right? There's been a lot of conversation over the last couple of days about, I used to call it integrating, but the key word this week seems to be fusing the network and security tools. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you're doing that much deeper integration for data and transit endpoints, etc.
Absolutely. So I'll talk about a few things that we're doing now, which is why we're calling it fusing into the network. Of course, things like segmentation that are very well known in the industry, we continue to do that with our network devices. We have this product, ICE, Identity Services Engine. That's kind of a core piece of that technology. But with technologies like Hypershield, now we are really implementing hybrid mesh firewalls. So each of these network elements become part of a bigger fabric of security appliances. And they become enforcement point. You can define policy in one place in security cloud control. You can define policy in one place. You can enforce that in different places in the network. So that's one example of that. Another thing that I'll say is these devices I'm talking about, they're built to be secure from the ground up.
Right.
Silicon One has some amazing security capabilities. These devices are built on a secure Linux kernel. And now we brought this innovation that we're calling Live Protect. I'm very excited about this. Yes. This is the ability to use eBPF technology into the kernel of the network operating system. And what that lets you do is that when a new security vulnerability is announced, you can deploy a compensating control for that without having to bring down the box to upgrade or reimage. So it gives you a little bit of comfort that you can protect the box and you have a little bit of time to schedule an image upgrade. Because one of the stats that we've heard again and again, and we've seen this with our customers, is when an exploit comes out, there are attacks within a couple of days of that active out in the field. But IT departments can take weeks to patch these systems. And so this live protect technology now provides you a quick sort of mitigation for these type of attacks. So we're very excited about this. This is going to happen across all of our portfolio. And then finally, I'll be remiss if I did not mention our universal zero trust network access capability. Sure. All of these devices that I'm talking about become part of that to secure users and things, no matter where they are, consistent experience, agents or agentless, falls covered under that umbrella.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, having that breadth and depth is really what's needed to protect environments. I like the live protect. I think it was like stop the attack, not the network.
Exactly.
Tagline.
Right.
So having that capability, because it's just the reality of today is that the attacks change so frequently, so quickly, right? That you need to have something that as a baseline to stop it while you get the patch put in place.
Exactly.
And so forth. So that makes a lot of sense. Clearly there's a need, because we talked about the complexity already and so forth. The environments are so much more distributed that operational efficiency is important and things like that. You announced a lot of different AI capabilities. And we talked about the AgenticOps already, but I wanted to drill down a little bit specifically. You had spoken about this week about deep learning model, and also about AI Canvas, which are two really cool innovations that you brought to light. So I'm wondering if you could touch upon those for a little bit.
Absolutely. So I'll talk about Canvas in just 1 second, but the deep network model is the engine that is going to drive all of our AgenticOps experiences. This is the engine that is going to drive our conversational AI assistant capability. But when I explain Canvas, you'll see how that makes a lot of difference. But the deep network model is something that we created, and it is purpose-built model for the networking ops domain. And we believe that we are uniquely positioned in the industry, given our extensive years of experience in the space, our large installed customer base. So we were able to tap into all of the documentation, all of the knowledge bases that someone like a CCI would leverage to get certified. So we were able to tap into all of that information source, and then also human curated logs and human curated data points. All of that went into training this model. And the net result is that if you compare this model on CCI questions, a written exam, it performs 20% better than any of the other generic models out there. If you go to ChatGPT and ask a question, it will actually give you a reasonable answer. But when you train something like our deep network model, it is just much better at this. And so that's kind of the foundation of all of our AI experiences going forward.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense from that learning model, right? You've got 40 years of experience that you're able to then basically codify, codify and put into that model so that you're able to extract meaningful results.
Now, this is not a general purpose model. Right? So don't go asking it about, what's happening in this part of the world or that part. It's not built for that. It is built for network ops.
Yeah.
Right. And so it is very good at what it does. It is very targeted and very contained, and then we feel like we're uniquely positioned to build something like this.
Nope. Awesome. AI Canvas?
Yes, absolutely. So AI Canvas is this really unique, very interesting capability that we're launching. AI Canvas is a collaborative experience. It is an experience where humans and software agents can collaborate to manage your networks, but it is also a collaborative tool for humans. So you can invite your team members to help you manage your network. And, the line that Jeetu used in the keynote was, this is a team sport, but all of the tools that have been built until now are single player tools. This is a multiplayer tool. And just to quickly touch upon some of the capabilities, it has a conversational AI assistant interface built into it. So you can start your troubleshooting session, as an example, by very naturally describing a problem, or you might even point it to a ServiceNow ticket. It will automatically retrieve all the data. And then the deep network model that is under the covers here is a reasoning model. So it can start to reason about how to collect all the pieces of information that might help you. and it can dip into disparate data sources. So it might look up information in Meraki, then it might decide that, oh, the next piece of information I need needs to come from Thousand Eyes, so it can do that. Then it can even dip into Splunk, where some other information might live. And then it can also correlate information across these data sources. And the one thing that I really find super cool is it's not just giving you a text output. It can generate UI widgets. So this is through generative UI here. It can generate charts and graphs and all sorts of visualizations that you can then pen and save so you can come back to them later. And this is where I feel like this system now removes all constraints on our thinking. My product managers and designers imagined a bunch of dashboards for you, but they're never going to be enough. Now you can create your own on the fly. And it is a very powerful capability. And this is really what we mean when we say AgenticOps. This is a true instantiation of that.
Yeah, one of the things that I was impressed with looking at the demo was not only its ability to gather these data sources, be able to provide the recommendations, but then to be able to take actions on that recommendation from the same screen and then validate that the actions had the desired impact and so forth, right?
And it's truly closed loop. When you're done with all of this, it will generate a summary report for you that you can use to update your tower ticket or wherever your ticketing system is.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that definitely, I think it's going to be a game changer for operations teams. All right. So I know we're running short on time, but I just wanted to ask about, obviously big announcements, lots of technology, lots of innovation, new architecture for the AI era. How do you see this new architecture shaping the future for Cisco as it relates to maybe your partnerships, your position in the market, and for your enterprise customers?
We feel really good about all the innovation that we've launched here. I think the deep network model, the AgenticOps capabilities, these devices that are built to be secure and scalable, energy efficient. You need all of that to prepare organizations for the era of AI. Any one of these things by themselves are great, but they're not sufficient. And this is why we're talking about this is a full architecture. This is a secure networking architecture that makes you AI ready. We really like what we've done here. We can't wait for our customers to get their hands on this technology and give us feedback. I think the future is very, very exciting.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think there's a lot of, like I said, great technology that's come out. It's going to take a little while for customers to digest everything that was announced this week. But I think once they do, they're really going to understand the value and be able to take advantage of that. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. So, Anurag, thank you so much for joining me. And I want to thank all of you for watching us here. And again, if you're looking for additional information on any of these Cisco products we announced and the whole range of products that were announced this week, please go to their website, cisco.com. Thank you.